When we get to multiplying fractions in fourth grade, we are focusing on a fraction being multiplied by a whole number. So there are 3 steps to follow when we take a fraction and we multiply it by a whole number. We start with our first example, 1 over 4 times 5. I want to start with changing the whole number into a fraction. When we change our whole number into a fraction, we're giving it a denominator of 1. So I have 1/4 times 5 over 1, which is the same thing as 5. Second step is to multiply the numerators by each other and the denominators by each other. So I want to multiply straight across and take my 1 times 5 to give me 5, and then to go straight across with my denominators. 4 times 1 gives me 4. Step 3 is asking us to simplify. What that means is my 5 is the numerator. That numerator is bigger than a denominator. That is creating an improper fraction. When I think of fractions, I know this fraction has 4 parts in a whole. There is now an overflow of parts because my 5 is bigger than my 4. A visual helps students to understand what simplifying means. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wholes split into fourths because 1/4 times 5, remember, multiplication is just repeated addition. So I have 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. So if I take my 1, 2, 3, my first 4 fourths and add them up into my answer, I have now 4 out of 4 boxes or equal parts, which gives me 1 whole. I have 1/4 left over. We have to start a whole nother whole for that 1/4 because there's no more room in our first whole. So that gives me 1 and 1/4, which is the same as my 5 over 4. Let's look at another example. We're going to follow the same steps when solving this one. So I have 1/3 times 4. The first thing I want to do, I want to take my whole number and I want to turn it into a fraction. So I'm going to keep 1/3 the same, but I'm going to put 4 over 1. Step 2 is to multiply the numerators by each other to give me 4. 1 times 4 is 4. And then take the denominators and multiply them by each other. 3 times 1 gives me 3. Then we're going to need to simplify again because here we have our improper fraction again. You can only fit 3 parts in my whole. So I have 1, 2, 3. My first 3 thirds can go into my answer. When I take 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3, I get 3 thirds, which is the same as 1. Then I have a third left over. That third needs its own whole. So then I have 1 and only 1 out of 3 shaded in, which gives me 1 and 1/3 as my simplified answer.